My name's Sam Dracott. I'm a farrier and I'm going to show you the cleaning process and the shoeing process of a horse. The main thing I'll do is riding schools. There's a lot more science behind it than meets the eye. So what you would need is the anatomical sort of understanding of the horse's foot, with tendons, ligaments, arteries, veins, bones, columns, how they grow. Also, we need to have some blacksmithing skills in order to construct the shoe. Anything that needs to be done to help maintain the horse's lifespan, really. So the actual condition of this foot is pretty good. It's just been 6 weeks and it's just grown. So that triangle bit in the middle is known as the frog. This is known for helping grip and aiding blood supply around the foot. So I've got my straight blade and I'm actually cleaning up the sole. As you can see, it's sort of going to crumble out, and then this will help me aiding in how much foot this horse has actually grown, and I'll just trim it all back. As the hoof grows, it's almost like a giant fingernail, so it's always constantly growing. So you need to trim that back, reset the shoe back, so the bone column of the structure of the leg is actually set in the correct place, rather than if it's too long, it will be under a lot of pressure through the tendons. So imagine almost wearing a huge pair of shoes for yourself. It makes it very difficult for you to walk. So to have the horses regularly trimmed will help actually maintain the lifespan of the horse and the function of it doing whatever discipline it's in. As you take the sole out, it will start to become slightly waxy. It won't crumble out quite so easy. And that's a good indication you're getting as far as you should go. And then you should be able to just trim that bit off the excess hoof, and that's it. So you want to trim from there, really. So I'd use these giant pair of toenail cutters, really, and you'll just start trimming the foot off nice and level, as flat as you can. The bit I'm actually trimming is exactly what a toenail is made out of. So it's millions and millions of strands of hair actually bonded together. So it's exactly the same keratin, protein as a fingernail would have. There is actually no nerve endings on the bits that I touch. The horse feels the sensation, so imagine having a shoe on and somebody taps the bottom of your shoe. You would feel the sensation of it, but it doesn't actually hurt you. It's pretty much exactly the same. The giant nail file is actually what we call a rasp, and then you would use the rasp to get it nice and flat, because these horses actually walk on their fingernails, unlike us. So this has to be flat to help them walk evenly on their joints, because if you did one side higher than the other, then they'll be walking unevenly, and it would put excessive strain on their joints and the tendons. So the idea is to get it as flat as you can, so almost perfect. So say if it wasn't quite 100% perfectly flat, the shoe would actually finish that job for you. So every foot that I do is completely unique. There's no feet that are two the same. I buy these sort of factory made to a standard size, and then we put them in the forge to heat them up to make them flexible and malleable enough to make them custom for the horse. So the process would start with getting the right size for the horse. Sort of by memory and a lot of practice, as you're trimming the feet, you sort of see the shape that the horse's feet have. So you might see it's slightly straight on one side, quite flare on one side. You would clock that in your brain, automatically get a rough size and shape that you would need. And 9 times out of 10, I would get it pretty much bang on straight away. I'm now sort of looking to make sure that the shoe fits the foot. This doesn't hurt the horse's foot at all. If you hold it on there for a long time, then the sensation of the heat will travel up the foot. They will eventually feel it, but I'd say 5-6 seconds is probably all you need. And then this will make a mirror image from the shoe to the foot surface. So as you burn it on, it makes it perfectly flat. So it's like a perfect snug fit. Once they're fitted and they're the right shape for the horse needs, you need to cool them down. So a bucket of water is a good old-fashioned way of getting it down to handling temperature, so you can pick it up and use it with your own hands. The nails probably only go about 2 or 3 mil into the hoof wall, and then they'll go up the hoof wall and then come out the side. So as you nail it in, it curves out, so then you can flick it over and clamp it onto the foot. And I'm using my clenching tongs. These actually flick over the end of the nail and push it back into the foot so it grips and stays on to create what's known as clenches. And then I would use a rasp, and that would buff the foot up, make it all nice and smooth, because you don't want any sharp edges for the horse to catch itself. So this is the finishing process to make it all basically nice and pretty, and what people will consider as part of getting their nails done, really. As you've filed the hoof wall off, you're actually taking like a very, very fine layer off the outside, which maintains the moisture in the feet, and it's a protective layer. So you replenish this with grease or any oil or anything shiny, really. If you're malnourished or anything like that, fingernails and hair are the first thing that would show that. Same as any animals, with dogs, cats, or anything like that, hygiene, is a big factor. If you've got poor hygiene of a horse, in a stable that's not cleaned out, poor maintenance of its feet, not being trimmed or looked after, will eventually affect a horse or any animal. In the wild, horses are not actually meant to live as long as we allow them to live. Normally, as they get to an age of, it could be 10 to 15, depending on type, breed, environment, and the predators that they would naturally have, they would slow down and then the predators would get them. So we have them in such good pasture and maintain them so well, they live actually a lot longer.